Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to talk about the symptoms that you may experience on the ketogenic diet and potential ways that you can prevent, manage, and fix them. The most important thing on this diet is to really get in touch with your body, listen to it, and notice things. So observe your own body and look out for changes, and make sure if anything does feel abnormal, you do investigate into why you're feeling like that and how you can potentially manage it. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the keto flu, and this hits probably about 80% of people who go into this diet, some worse than others, can last for hours, days, sometimes in worst case scenario, weeks. So symptoms of the keto flu can actually be so overbearing that a lot of people give up on the diet in these early initial stages, and they fail to actually get any of the positive benefits of the diet only because these negative symptoms really knock them around and they can't actually deal with day-to-day life. So symptoms such as energy droops, lack of focus, brain fog, fatigue, people can't sleep at night, so insomnia, muscle aches. People just really struggle to get through these symptoms, and it is enough to, like I said before, make somebody give up. And it is a lot for somebody to deal with, especially when they're also dealing with the sugar cravings and the carb cravings, because they're not yet at the stage where their appetite is suppressed. However, there is a way to potentially prevent experiencing the keto flu. I didn't experience it, but loads of people who I've been chatting to have had shocking symptoms of the keto flu. But I would put this down to dehydration. So in order to prevent or work towards preventing the keto flu, you have to drink so much water. You have to stay hydrated. So on this diet, the first thing that's going to go is the water weight. So therefore, you're drying out quickly. You're not retaining water. So what you need to do is you need to increase your sodium intake so then the water will actually retain. You're lacking in electrolytes, but just be careful, because a lot of people see this as an opportunity to drink those little GastroLite electrolyte tablets, but be careful because they can kick you out of ketosis. So depending on the brand, just make sure there are no sugars or carbs in the little tablets. But I do suggest you just drink a lot of water. Drink up to at least 4 liters a day when starting this diet. And also, the darker the strip generally means the more dehydrated you are. And the more water you will drink, the lighter the strip will go, because ketones are actually diluted in your urine once you've hydrated yourself. The one thing I have learned, and I think this actually might be one of the most important things for women in particular, is people are putting their calorie goal much too low. So they're sitting at around 1,200 to 1,500. I get it, and I understand why. If they're not hungry, they're not eating, and then the weight's just gonna fall off quickly. However, having a calorie count this low can potentially mean that you don't have enough room to eat more vegetables and things like that that will bring nutrients and minerals into your body and really stop the aches and the pains and the deficiencies. I think it's really important, and because a lot of women have lost their period in the initial stages of starting this diet, and that is a huge concern. I get questions all the time asking if this has happened to me. I have the implant on, so I don't get my period, but I have spoken to loads and loads of women who have done that, and I honestly think that increasing your calorie count in the initial stages of diet until you get into ketosis will reduce your chances of experiencing the keto flu, losing your period, and a whole lot of other symptoms that I'll get into in a sec. But I think in the initial stages of this diet, put that calorie goal up and don't make weight loss the main focus initially. Get comfortably into ketosis and get adapted, and then you can play around with the calorie count, and then that's when the weight will fall off. So one of the biggest risk factors of failing this diet is going into a state of malnutrition where you're deficient of a lot of vitamins and minerals. People start this diet assuming that they can literally just live off bacon, processed meats, cheeses, butter, These things, yes, they're keto friendly, but you're not getting any vitamins or minerals from them, and therefore you're going to get really, really sick. Iron is a vitamin that can do a lot of damage if you are deficient of it. So a symptom I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about is bruising. So when I initially started this diet, I was not getting enough iron. And what I found was I was getting all of these little bruises down the side of my leg, and they would get bigger and bigger, and I just did not know how I got them. I then did some research, and it turns out I was deficient of like vitamin C, iron, all those things. So then I incorporated more iron-rich foods and vitamin C-rich foods into my diet. I've mentioned this a couple of times before, but like, people rely heavily on spinach and things like that, especially if you're on the vegan ketogenic diet. Make sure you're cooking the spinach before you're eating it, because that's how your body is going to absorb most of the nutrients and minerals. Apparently, you can't get any iron, you can't absorb any iron from the leaves if they're not cooked. What I suggest you do, if you think the duration of these signs and symptoms that are making you feel really awful are going on for too long, what I suggest you do is you go and get that initial blood test if you haven't already done so. Get your bloods checked and see what you're low on, because most definitely you're deficient of something, and then you can kind of plan and, alter your diet or your meal plans to incorporate more and more foods that are rich in vitamins and minerals. Another horrible symptom is constipation. So a lot of people struggle with the digestive issues of this diet. So when you're thinking about it, your stools are going to be different because you've just completely changed your diet. So the volume will probably decrease and the consistency will probably change. But eventually, and this is just from my experience, initially when I first started, it was my stools were underwhelming, but I didn't feel backed up. However, once I became adapted, things go back to normal completely. So consistency, size, volume, everything. Things you can do to speed up the process to getting back to normal is increase your fiber intake. So that means incorporating more vegetables. So what I'm trying to get people away from is eating so much processed stuff. So processed meats, cheeses, and things like that. I've come off red meat and I've come off cheese. Well, I'm trying to come off cheese. I'll occasionally have a bit, especially in a social setting. But the way I look at it, if I'm not getting any vitamins and minerals from these foods, then there's no point in eating them. I don't need a high protein, so I'm on 50 to 70 grams of protein a day. It varies every single day, but pretty much these foods aren't bringing anything to the party. So I'd rather get my carbs and my calories from other foods such as vegetables. Keep in mind, when a food is rich in fiber, the fiber can be subtracted from the total carbs. So therefore, you do actually have a little bit of leeway to eat more vegetables. Another thing to be careful of, and this is also one of the reasons why I've cut back on the saturated fats such as cheese and processed meats and things like that, is you do have to be careful of your cholesterol on this diet. So once you've had the blood test, it's really important to get your levels checked, especially to notice a difference when you go back in a few months and have them checked again. So my mum recently went to the doctors and she has been told that she has high cholesterol and may need to start taking statins. So high cholesterol is hereditary. My grandfather also had it. So this is something that I need to be very mindful of when I'm choosing the foods that I'm going to eat. I would always recommend for people to eat saturated fats in moderation. So a bit of cheese, a bit of processed meat here or there as a treat, like especially when you're eating out. Sometimes it's the easiest thing to order, but to eat it in moderation only because you just don't want to mess around with something like cholesterol. So what I suggest you do is you have that initial blood test, and if things are fine, go 4 or 5 months and then have another blood test. Obviously, if there is a consistent rise in bad cholesterol, you need to kind of reassess whether or not this diet is for you, because it's not for everybody. And that is something that I am absolutely mindful of as well. I am due for another blood test soon, and absolutely, if my cholesterol is dangerously high, I'm going to reconsider whether or not this diet is the right thing for me. The thing with this diet is there isn't enough evidence to support it, and that's why there isn't enough awareness spread. So initially it was used to treat kids with epilepsy, and that worked out fine, but we're still kind of moving away from the idea that fat makes us fat. It's actually carbs and sugar that makes us fat, and they're stored as fat. This diet could do a lot of good for a lot of people. It's just a lot of people don't know about it, and it's also the struggle of getting patients and people to comply with the rules, because the initial stages are really hard. The keto flu and all these horrible symptoms hit them so hard that it's just overwhelming and too much. So what I'm trying to do is just kind of aid in preventing these symptoms in the first place. So overall, just drink a lot of water. With muscle aches and sleeping as well, like try increasing your magnesium. So buy some supplements. I've actually got mine here. I have one of these a day, and that will help with any muscle cramping, or it aids with sleeping. I can sleep perfectly throughout the night, but remember when I first started, I couldn't sleep at all, but wasn't so much tired the next day. I just could not get to sleep at night. But I think I'm gonna leave it at that with the signs and symptoms. But please, when you're starting this diet, just be careful and be mindful of how dangerous these symptoms can be if you actually let them go on for too long, especially deficiencies with vitamins and nutrients. Don't just ignore them. Listen to your body and actually do something about them. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and keep researching. Make sure that you're finding foods that are really rich in things other than just fat, the processed saturated fats and things like that. They're just not bringing enough to the party to get all of your calories from them. So yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you next time.